Lilydale Spiritualist Assembly in Western New York has become the favorite weekend getaway for Joy and Clay. While Lilydale is known as a community of mediums, not all spiritualists are mediums. Dedicated to service to God, Spirit, and mankind, spiritualists believe in the continuity of life and individual responsibility. The feeling of peace, love, serenity, and acceptance is evident as soon as you enter the grounds. Even the trees seem to reach for the heavens to retrieve messages, as the energy of the surroundings encompasses your soul. The belief in the circle of life can be seen at every turn, from respect for the regeneration of living parts of the earth to honoring the passing of their pet family. During the summer season at Lilydale, people come from all over the world for the chance to hear from loved ones on the other side. Twice daily, people flock to the historic spiritual stump in hopes of receiving a short reading from one of the registered mediums who reside at Lilydale. Lilydale is a complete community with a library, museum, auditorium, fire department, and children's area. The Healing Chapel Temple offers individuals the opportunity for spiritual, emotional, and physical healing. Prior to their weekend venture to Lilydale, Joy and Clay connected with Mark and Maggie Stark, residents at Lilydale. Mark and Maggie were gracious enough to invite Clay and Joy into their home and relate their physical and spiritual journey which brought them to Lilydale. Oh, and by the way, did I mention a levitating table? Here we go!
We're here at Lilydale, a little visit for the weekend with Joy and I. And the Starks, Maggie and Mark Stark, have graciously agreed to talk to us about their life in Lilydale, but also their life, what brought them there, spiritually as well as physically. So we'll introduce you to the Starks and we'll start talking a little bit. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, thanks for inviting us into your home.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. So let's just start with how we found you.
Yeah. I friended Maggie on Facebook because you posted some table tipping
Yes.
videos that I wasn't sure if you were part of or if you picked up one and shared around. So that kind of caught my interest.
Okay.
And I knew we were coming to Lilydale, so we just started our web series, which is called Ultimate Realities, and we want to get an insight on how people live and how people live who might be different from the people who watch our show. So,
Sure.
first of all, tell us, we'll start with Maggie. Tell us where you're from, what your background spiritually was, and how you ended up with this guy sitting next to you.
Yeah, okay. This guy had a lot to do with it. Let's see. I was born in Maine. I was raised Catholic. I found out through spirit that my grandmothers were very mediumistic and also came to Lilydale
Wow.
in the 1890s to see Susan B. Anthony. And all this information was given to me through spirit. But anyway, I digress. I was born in Maine, raised Catholic, and I always liked the saints and the mystics and the visions that they had. But the part about hell and the devil, and it just didn't resonate with me. And I remember I was maybe 12 or 13, and I had a spiritual experience. It stopped me in my tracks that the love of God is within you, that you don't have to follow a certain religion. And that always stuck with me. And so as I got older, I just kind of stopped going to the Catholic Church. And but I always had mediumistic experiences, things, spirit. I've had UFO encounters. I've had all types of things paranormal, and it was just like, oh well, that's just normal. Somebody's touching you on the arm before you go to sleep or whatever. And then Mark and I met, and there's an interesting story here. We were at a dinner that he asked me to. This was in 1973, and all of a sudden I hear in my voice, in my ear, "This is your husband." And I was like, oh my. I didn't tell him. But anyway, to make a long story short, we got married. And little by little, we started talking about our different psychic experiences and whatnot. And so we moved to Maine. We moved to Maine.
We lived in Miami.
Yeah, we lived in Miami at the time. And in 1988, we moved back to Maine. And my father and mother had passed. Okay. Then all of a sudden, we went to a medium in Maine called Mayflag, a nice little old lady with gray hair, and she would charge you $10 if you had it. Mm-hmm. And she belonged to the Augusta Spiritualist Church in Maine. And I remember it took 6 months to get an appointment with her. And so we trudged up there about 40 miles or so in January. The snow was up to here, whatnot. It was really bad, and we walk in, and I'm a little bit skeptical. You know, even though you've had your own experiences, you're thinking, I don't know. Well, my father came in full force. When he was ill, he had a patch on his eye, and she told me that I'd be communicating him with my husband, and I would be communicating that we were mediums, I was a healer. And so this really kind of spurred our interest in the Spiritualist Church.
And she knew about the patch, nobody else did.
Yeah, nobody knew about the patch, and this was such a healing experience. So, then, all of a sudden, she said that we were going to set up a communication with my father. So Mark and I would try to sit at home and communicate, and one night we were upstairs in the bedroom trying to communicate with Spirit, and we had a candle, and we could really feel Spirit's presence. And the candle was on, the candle went off. We said, Spirit, can you bring the candle back up? And it came back up for us. Am I doing okay with the story?
Well, that was 13 years later.
That was 13 years later.
It took 13 years for the things she told us to come true.
Yeah, 13 years it took. So we were sitting there, and Mark starts having all these really mediumistic experiences. He's reading headstone, he'll go to a cemetery or whatnot, and I'll say to him, what's the name on the headstone? And he'll give me the name.
Well, I'd be standing behind it. Well, I couldn't see it. And I'd get the name. Sometimes on the old stones they put occupations and things like that. And we went to Bar Harbor for vacation, and I just, how am I getting this information? I could read the headstones from the back. I thought, boy, this is really neat, because, well, I'll let you finish.
Yeah. So Mark was having all this psychic stuff going on. It was so
Well, the
exciting.
thing is, May Flagg said we would be able to do what she could do
Right.
in time.
In
We would
time.
do this, and we thought, we believe this stuff, but not us. You know, we
Right.
believe other people can do it, but not us.
Yeah.
Well, it took just about 13 years, then it
years.
started happening, and we said, wow, this is pretty
So
good.
it just started happening spontaneously? You didn't
Yeah.
really like
Study
study
you know.
it?
We never
It just
studied
happened?
anything.
It just started happening. Like
Yeah.
it really hit Mark over the head.
We didn't belong to a spiritualist church. We didn't even know there was a spiritualist religion until then.
Right.
We didn't belong to anything. We didn't study anything. It just started happening. We started with psychometry. In fact, it was that stack of stereopticon cards. Margaret said, here, she'd read about psychometry, that you could hold, probably know what it is.
Right.
She said, here, take these cards. I didn't want to do this.
So for our listeners or our watchers who don't know what psychometry is, why don't you explain a little bit about that?
Well, you can hold an item, any kind of item, a piece of jewelry, a coin, anything somebody owned maybe, and you can get information off of it. What I did was I took those photographs, I didn't look at them. We had that thing for a while, but there was a whole stack of cards, I didn't know what was in there. And I took one, I'm going like this, and Margaret says, see what you get, see what you get. I said, nah, I don't want to do that. Oh, yeah, okay. I said, I see wood. I see stack of lumber, I see logs. There was 2 log cabins on it, and we turned it over.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
anyway, I'll let you finish.
So he started with all this, and I'm like his promoter, his manager. He
I
started,
don't want to do it.
he started doing readings for people, and people were coming to see him.
He didn't
and,
charge.
and it hadn't started for me yet.
Yeah.
And but one night we were sitting, and all of a sudden he starts seeing a movie of me as a child in Maine, and he talks about what was the name of that place?
Something Groves. What was the Grove? I thought it was an apple orchard.
He thought it was he brings up this name, something
Watson's
Grove.
Place she used to go to when she was a little kid.
And I never
But I
brought it up to him.
I don't think it exists anymore.
And so I was like, "What are you seeing? Can you tell me what you're seeing?" And it was like a hamburger place, and they had
It wasn't
swings.
a Grove.
It wasn't a Grove.
Really, they just called it that.
Oh, he was saying, I don't know why I'm hearing Watson's Grove, but they're showing me a hamburger place. And I said, that was it.
I said, you're sitting at an outside table, you're eating corn on the cob and
So-
hamburgers, and she said, that's it.
I'm thinking,
Yeah.
what spirit is
Where am I
showing
getting
me
it
this?
from? I don't know.
All of a sudden, my grandfather comes through him. My grandfather, Par Hickey, comes through him.
Or was his nickname?
Yeah.
John Hickey.
And he's talking about, Mark is not actually channeling, but he's telling him what he's seeing and all this information.
Stuff I
Then-
didn't know about.
My father came in next.
Yeah, and then it's funny, they would come in, your grandfather, I could see them, that grandfather would be here, it was like 4 photographs. Grandfather would be here, I think your father would be here, your mother would be here,
Yeah.
and here would be just anybody who happened to feel like coming in.
And he started actually channeling them. They were speaking through him. And he wasn't really that aware.
It
And I
developed.
was blown away. I'm sitting in my house going, my mother and my father, I'm talking to them, they're answering me questions through Mark, the channel.
And
I was just
going on.
blown away, and I was thinking, I had fear, they'll never come back, they'll never come back. And one of the first messages my mother gave me was, I think I was 56 at the time, and she said, you're going to be retired from teaching before you're 59. And I'm thinking, how is that going to happen?
You don't get a pension yet.
Right,
We don't have Social
you
Security.
live from
we're gonna
paycheck to
retire.
paycheck, you have
Right.
to work and everything. And she says, you're going to be retired before you're 59, and you're going to move to your favorite place. And I was of the opinion, I'm not going to move from my house in Maine. We just got it painted, the
Took us
wallpaper.
years to move to Maine. And
Yeah.
I just finished painting the house. Took me a year
Yeah.
because it was an old shingled house, and the shingles sucked the paint up like sponges. And
So-
I said, we can't leave. I just finished painting the
Yeah,
house.
Maine is my heaven, my house. We had a little farmhouse.
Took us 10 years to get there.
And Mark, prior to that, kept saying, I want to see what's up in upstate New York. And I said, there's nothing in upstate New York.
We got friends from around here, and they said there's nothing here.
It's not vacation land.
Yeah.
So anyway, we joined a spiritualist church.
To see what was going
We
on.
were seeking, like, where
Well, we needed to talk to other people who
Had
were
experiences.
like-minded, because you can't just talk to anybody that
Right.
come at you with a net.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I started seeing people that were no longer here, and so we figured we better do
And
something.
how did you, because you said you didn't know what spiritualism was,
Right,
how
I
did you
didn't.
come across the spiritualist religion?
Oh,
Or-
from that medium, May Flag.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she
And-
had brochures on spiritualism, and I went over the principles, and I thought, boy, this really resonates with me. And when we went to the Spiritualist church,
There was a church about 10 miles from where we lived in Maine.
Oh, okay.
So we said, oh, well, let's give it a try.
and we felt like we were home,
Mhm.
and we loved the church, and they said, oh, your house in Maine looks just like a Lilydale house. And we go, what's Lilydale? We never heard of it.
it.
Our house was purple, and we had angels
statues
and
and
fairies
things, yeah.
and all kinds of stuff. And they said, you've got to go to Lilydale with us. We're going on a trip.
2005, they said, we're going for a visit, you gotta come with us. I said, no, I'm not going 600 miles
Yeah.
anywhere.
And we kept thinking in the back of our minds, Maine is our favorite place. And we got a reading from someone in the church, and they said, you're going to have a favorite place 50 miles south of Buffalo.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so,
Because our favorite place is Bar Harbor, Maine, where almost nobody can afford to live.
Yeah.
We'd go there for 5 years, or 5 days in the summer,
mhm.
because that's all we could afford. Then we'd save all year long to go back the next summer.
Yeah.
And so how are we going to afford to go to Bar Harbor, especially if you retire?
Right.
You've got no money coming in. We didn't know about Lilydale.
Right.
So we came to Lilydale. We got here.
4 days.
We started vibrating when we got
We
here.
got here.
And we said,
This is it.
how are we going to be living here? We have to be here. And we were out by the lake looking at the beautiful trees and everything. And we befriended a lady in the museum, and we told her our story, and she was willing to sponsor us, because at that time I think you needed somebody from the assembly.
Two sponsors or
And
something.
we had sponsors from our church, and we
Mhm.
were just like, this is the place Mom was talking about. This is where we have to be. And because they kept, my parents, when they were coming in a couple of times a week. You're going to have so many friends. You're going to love it there. This is what the Creator wants you to do. The whole thing. So
All we had to do was figure out how to
all
do
we
it.
had to do. So we were writing letters to be accepted by the assembly, and
Because if you're not
sometimes
accepted, you're sunk.
don't get
You know,
Right,
you-
right.
You're not
you
living
know, all
here.
your dreams are
Yeah, trash.
trash. So we didn't hear, and so finally we got an appointment set up in June. But prior to that, my dad came in channeling, and he told Mark, he talked to Mark personally. He said, get a for sale sign. This was in May.
Yeah, go to the hardware store, they're selling them for 98 cents, they're on sale. Put it on the fence. The first people that come by are going to buy your house. And that happened. First
Wow.
It
people-
happened, and I was kind of panicked, like, what if people from work go by and they see
'cause they didn't
the
know she
house
was
for
going to
sale?
leave.
They didn't
yeah.
know.
Right.
I kind of said, I've done this for 34 years. I don't know, I might be looking for something different.
And we had a pretty high price on the house because we had to sell it for a certain amount of money because we thought, well, we're not going to be working.
Mhm.
We got to have X amount of dollars to live until we get Social Security. And we didn't know how fast the money would, we never experienced anything like this. We got to get as much money as we
Yeah.
can. And the girl who bought the house was okay with it. She knew that we had to sell the house for that kind of money.
Yeah.
The deal went
We had
smoothly.
the for sale sign before we even got accepted,
Here, yeah.
at the
Just
assembly.
hoping, we're
just
getting
hoping.
Hmm.
And we got here, and we had gotten a message years before that somebody named Frank would be important in our spiritual journey. We were going to stay at the Angel House. We
The
didn't
big house
know.
on the corner.
And the gentleman that opened the door was Frank.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he's Asian, very Asian-looking man. You think his name isn't going to be Frank?
Yeah.
He says, "Hi, I'm Frank."
And we said, oh, we need to
okay,
stay with
We need
you.
to talk to you.
Yeah,
Wow.
at the Angel House. So I'm trying to think, so we got accepted.
We got accepted we got there on the weekend. I think we got accepted on Monday.
Yeah. And
And
then- That was like in the middle of June, we got accepted. We were moved in here.
well, we had to start looking for a house
Oh, yeah, we had
because
to,
we had to have a place to come
Right,
to.
right.
So we found a little house on the next street. We thought, well, it's not as nice as our house in Maine. We're going to have to sell most of our stuff. It's small and all. Well, at the last minute, Frank's wife said, well, I have a friend who's had a house up for sale for 13 years, off and on in this house. And excuse me, you ought to take a look at it, just in case. So it's midnight the night before. We made an appointment to come here 10 in the morning. And we said, well, we're going to buy the house up there, but we'll go look because we made an appointment. We had, we should keep it. Well, we were talking to like past midnight, and we're the only ones on the second floor. It was Monday. Everybody had gone home except one woman downstairs. It's a big place. I don't know if you've ever been in there, but it's a big place.
No, I'd like to go.
It's a beautiful place. So, 2 o'clock in the morning, I get up, I have to use the bathroom. And the bathroom's right 2 doors down from where we're staying in the room. I look at the clock, it's 2:06. I said, okay. So I open the door, and this young lady brushes right past me. A really attractive girl, maybe in her late teens, in a see-through nightgown, goes right past me. And I go, oh, excuse me, and I go back in, sit down, figure out, wait till she must be heading to the bathroom. And I said, wait, there's 2 bathrooms there. I'll go use the other one. What's the big deal? So I use the bathroom. I come out, and I see her way down at the end of the hall. And I thought, well, what's she doing here 2 o'clock in the morning? Her parents must have come in late, and she's with them. So I said, well, I'll go talk to her. And I start to go down there, and I said, wait a minute. A young girl, see-through nightgown, 2 o'clock in the morning. Her parents aren't going to appreciate this. I'm going back to bed. So I just said, good night, and went back in. Next morning, I find out there was nobody up there. Nobody had come in the middle of the night.
Oh, wow.
I said to Frank, come on, Frank, don't fool with me. Who is up there? He said, no, you're up there by yourself. We later found out it was your grandmother from 1891. Because she stayed here in 1891. I guess she wanted to make sure we kept the appointment to see this house. We bought this house in 2 minutes.
And they had given Mark visions of what the house looked like.
I walked in, I saw the stairway, I saw everything just like in my vision. I said to the owner, I'll take it.
20 minutes we bought the house.
Bought the house.
Wow.
And went back to Maine.
Hoped we would sell our house so we could, I said, I'll give you $1,000, and if we don't sell our house, you made $1,000. But we sold the house like a few days later, sent her the money.
We packed up our stuff, and in 5 weeks we were here.
We were here.
And the young lady that bought the house, she was nervous. She goes, I don't know if this is going to happen. I said, it's happening. I said, pack.
Pack your
I said,
we're leaving.
Because she had some, like, financial piggyback loans or something she was worried about. And I said, no, it's happening. So, and she's
still in the house, and she loves it.
She loves it, and we still correspond. So that's how we got here.
And of all things, she's an opera
I don't know
singer,
if that's-
and she's performed at Chautauqua Institute, which is only about 10 or 15 miles from here.
Wow.
If we're talking too much or too long,
Oh, no,
Almost to
that's
stop.
wonderful.
But-
Yeah, it's such an incredible story.
I mean, when spirit moves you, they move you.
Your mother followed us to Bar Harbor. She blew the street lights out. We would, when we kind of knew what was going on, we stayed in this place in Bar Harbor, this inn that we really liked. And this was before we moved. And Margaret would go, Mom, we did turn the street light out just to see if she would do it. Turn the street light out. Turn it back on. She did it so many times she blew the bulb out. They had to replace it the next day.
And where I worked, there was always a lot of physical phenomena going on in my classroom. And I worked with multi-handicapped autistic children. And so it was myself and like 3 or 4 ed techs. And I remember it was the middle of winter, and I came back from a meeting, and I came into my classroom, okay, and we had a steel fire door.
2 big push doors.
Push doors,
Yeah.
right?
Real heavy doors.
And so I walk in, as I walk in, somebody exits,
Yeah, somebody
pushes
can't
on
see,
the
opens the door.
and my friends are going, Maggie, is that your mother again?
So
But
many
she would
things-
love to play tricks, and they liked it, my friends liked
So
it.
many things happen.
And so you felt comfortable enough to tell them, oh,
Oh, yeah.
that's my mother.
Yeah.
Every
that's my
day
grandmother.
she'd show up and it would be something new. Finally, one day
One
she
day I
comes
was
in
I said, I can
and
fly!
they went, really? And then they realized she was joking.
I was joking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had
Well, the
fun with
faucets
it.
used to go on and off and
Yes.
things used to show up. I mean, we've always had things like
Yeah.
that. I mean, there's a little girl named Emily that walked down the hallway one night. We weren't here very long, and she's still here. She writes messages in the mirrors in the bathroom, and
Oh,
people say, "Oh, you could have done it yourself." I said, "Yeah, I could have, but I didn't." So we're the only 2 people here
Yeah.
that live
That can
people.
validate it, right?
Right.
Yeah, but still, that's
So
incredible.
we've always had, wherever we lived, we've had spirit activity and
All the time.
all the time, and it was just kind of like, oh well, it
It's
was
the
never
way it is.
fearful or fear-based or anything. It
We've
was-
never had a bad experience. You see all these shows on TV, and they seems like the popular shows are the real scary ones, where there's bad spirits, there's demons, we watch all the shows. We kind of laugh sometimes. We've never, all our lives had a bad experience.
That's what I always say too. I would say that probably can occur, but it's never happened to me.
No.
So I can't say whether I
Right.
believe it or not,
Right.
because I can,
Not true.
honor the fact that somebody else may be telling the truth.
Yeah.
But I've never
Yeah, 'cause-
had that experience myself.
Because I figure, I expect them to believe me, so I guess I better believe
Right,
them.
exactly. And I think the energy that you walk around in, your own personal vibration, is what you're going to attract anyway.
Yes.
Now, I
And so,
can't
yeah.
say that when I come down the stairs at 2 o'clock in the morning and it's pitch black, it's a little unnerving when I've seen spirit a few times.
Mhm.
They've always been nice looking, never scary looking or dismembered or anything like that. They look like, sometimes you can see through them, sometimes they're kind of white,
Mhm.
but never bad looking.
Right.
I can't say that when it happens, your heart doesn't stop for a second.
Oh, exactly,
Because,
yeah.
you're seeing something that half the world doesn't believe is true.
Right.
And you're looking right at it. But I've never had a bad experience. They've
Right.
never done anything bad, never tried to scare me. I've talked to them.
Mhm.
Sometimes they don't answer, sometimes they do, but
Right. Well, they have free will too.
yeah.
Right.
But it's been nothing, but in fact we even got a picture of the little girl in the mirror. She doesn't look the same in the mirror as she did when she was walking down the hall. She looked
Mhm.
just like a little girl that you could see through, but nice. In the mirror, it's a long, stretched out figure, but you can see it's something,
Mhm.
something in the mirror, right opposite of where she had been standing.
Well,
Now, most people come to Lilydale, but they come because it's known as a town where only mediums live.
Mhm.
Okay, and they come to get readings and the like. What do the residents of Lilydale do on a regular basis among themselves when they're not, welcoming the public, during their summer sessions or doing workshops and things? Give us an idea of what maybe a day or a week at Lilydale for a resident is.
Okay, well, we can speak for ourselves because we're not registered mediums. We don't have a business here. And to be a registered medium, it's a real rigorous process. They have to do testing, and it's quite a responsibility and duties they have and everything. But our path is, we like to think of ourselves as joyologists.
You ever seen on what was it, Saturday Night Live?
Live.
Joyology.
Joy.
Yeah.
And so we just love
Around
the
spreading
community.
joy.
And we're involved, in the summer we've been involved in a lot of activities, putting on fundraisers and things. And Victorian Ice Cream Social, we're involved with the masquerade party.
Both
Ball.
the endowment fund.
And
We
we
do the
found,
Thanksgiving dinners in the
Thanksgiving
winter.
dinners.
And we have a monthly birthday dinner. Every month, a bunch of us get together and go to a restaurant and celebrate whoever's birthday happens to be that month. We've been doing that
Sometimes
for
we
what,
have
5
40
years?
people.
wow.
We've been doing it like 7, 8 years.
Yeah, we do stuff like that.
And it's such a close community. And some people leave in the winter, they go to Florida or whatnot, but we've got quite a steady,
How many people do you think call this home?
oh my goodness, I think there's 160 homes. I couldn't
How
give you
many
the
people do you
numbers.
think are here in the wintertime? Maybe 100 people are
Maybe
here in the
In the
winter.
winter?
Yeah,
Something like that.
yeah.
But there's in circles, like we sit in so many different circles. And Tuesday night, I sit at fellowships out there with Reverend Jim
Why
Barnum.
don't you explain what a circle is?
Okay.
Not everybody knows.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Well, I guess you'd say there's 2 types of circles. There's a circle where you meditate and then, you get messages and you give them, and that's Jim Barnum's class, Mental Mediumship, although we've been getting some physical phenomena in Jim's class in the last year. And we sit with friends, and a lot of our friends are registered mediums, so we sit with them. And right now, for 7 years, we've been here 10, for 7 years, we sat with Dr. Neil Zukowski, okay, over in fellowships. They had a small room, and we had a cabinet. I don't know if you know what a cabinet is, okay, where it's, the medium sits in the cabinet, and the room is darkened out, and it allows for like concentration of energy. And so we sat with Neil for 7 years, and we would get, our goal was to have physical phenomena. And we would have transfiguration, which means the spirit would come over someone's face in the red light. And we would have some noises and some lights turned on and off. And it was a great experience, a lot of healing energy with that too, and receiving messages. And then we took a little break for 2 years because he was very busy with his medical career, and now he's retired. So we started up again with Dr. Neil, and he has a house a couple of
Two doors down.
two doors down. And so we started back up, and it was basically the same group. It's like 7 of us that we've always sat together. We're all good friends, and we call ourselves the Harmonic Fellowship of Light.
Oh.
That's our name, and we have, and so we were going to give it a try again for physical mediumship. And there was a lady, I'm sure she won't mind me using her name, Dwana Paul, and she's a physical medium, and she's a friend of Neil's, and we've known her. And she said, well, I want to sit with you. And we said, sure. And she had a guide named G that would, you know, help her with her physical phenomena. And we had a round white plastic table.
Pretty good size one, almost as big as this carpet
Yeah,
area.
like 7 or 8 could sit on it. And we were working in the dark at that point. And the table was going, and it was answering questions yes and no. It indicates yes and no by either tipping or not tipping. It would spell out names and whatnot.
It taps for
Taps
every letter of the alphabet.
Every letter of the alphabet. And we were like, oh, this is
It was
fantastic.
really going to town.
So she was with us for maybe a month. And then we were thinking, oh, if Dwana leaves, you know, I hope we still have activity. And she said, no, her guide G is going to work with you.
Ah.
Okay. And we were like, fingers crossed. So Dwana left. Spirit kept its word. G came in on the table by spelling out. And we started getting physical phenomena, levitation, and we were working in the dark. And our goal was to work in the light so that, you know, people could say there wasn't any hanky-panky or whatnot. And it happened. And the basis of our physical phenomena circle, Harmonic Fellowship of Light, is not just to show physical phenomena, but we're all connected, we believe, to what you call a crystal grid. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I have.
The crystal grid. And a lot of physical phenomena mediums at this point, there's one called Kai Mugi in Germany, and another medium, Warren Kaler from England, and they're producing apports from their eyes, from their mouth. And if you're presented with an apport, and Neil was presented with an apport, that means that your group is now part of the crystal grid.
The crystals that come out.
And
Some of it's kind of painful too.
yeah.
So actual
pretty-
crystals come out of their,
Some of them are pretty
It's
big
pretty
too.
really?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
quite the thing. And so, but the main focus of they're extraterrestrial. P is from one of our guides. P is from Pleiades. G is from Sirius. One of my guides, Homer, who I actually saw, is from Arcturus. And we have another one, Q. And they want us now to go public with this. And that's why we're doing those demonstrations. And they give healing to people. The clip that you saw, it didn't show, but we did a teaching class. And we were working 2 tables out in the light in Dr. Neil's backyard. He's got a dome off campus here. And he'd be somebody interesting to talk to.
it'd be
Oh,
interesting to
okay.
interview.
Yeah, I could. tell him about him.
Yeah.
And so he was inside working, showing the students what a seance is like in the dark, and we were out there. We didn't know what we were going to do, you know, showing them the table work. And Spirit kind of took over and directed us to have the people stand around in a circle of about 17 people and started going to people and giving them healings. We just had our hands like this and the table would go over. Can you go over to Sally? Sally was over there, the table would go over to her. Go over to Max or whatever over here.
Wow.
So it's all about the healing energy, and they want this information to be out.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Yay! Going all the way out?
Oh, there it goes. Yeah, there it goes. Oh, very good. Thank you.
Because before, you know, you're kind of like, we're weird enough here.
Yeah.
But, you know, but a lot of people are into like the interdimensional beings and things, so that's what the table tipping that you saw.
Now here at Lilydale, though, they basically practice mental mediumship because of some of the things that went on in the early days of spiritualist developments, because there was a lot of fakery that went on to get money from people and things like that.
Oh yeah.
But people don't need to know that these things are real,
Yes.
okay? That this is nothing unusual. It might be unusual to people who haven't experienced it, but you know, between the readings that Joy and I have experienced, the work that she does, both with mediumship and with shamanic work and what you've told us, that's what we try to get across to people, that these are alternate realities. These are things that do exist.
Exactly.
Yeah. Everything is real and nothing is real. That's what we always say at the end of every show. And that's basically what we're trying to get across, that you don't have to be afraid to talk about these things.
No.
I'm sure that when you all first started experiencing these things, you were afraid to talk about them for a while. To some people.
Yes.
Oh, our neighbors across the street used to peek through the
In
curtains
Maine.
at us because she'd have that street light going on and off, and they'd be looking and looking, and they thought we were. I don't know what they thought we were.
But people don't have to be afraid. I mean, that's what we're trying to get across. If they experience something, whether it be with spirit or with UFOs, we've talked to people who've seen Bigfoot creatures. Those things are real, and you should talk about them, because until we can talk about them, we're going to be a segmented society.
Right.
We're not going to come together as one, because we're building walls by not talking. And that's the purpose of us talking to you, to get some information out and see that you're not wearing tinfoil hats.
Right.
I'm glad you took those
We'll
off
put
before we
those
got
away.
here. And you don't have a pointed hat, or anything like that. You don't have a cauldron that you're stirring around. You just you have your people, and that's what people.
And then people that do that are okay too.
That's
though.
fine. That's fine too.
Yeah,
necessary
exactly.
for them.
Right.
Whatever they feel like
whatever.
gets them connected. Yeah.
We feel that, you're born, you go to school, you try to go to college, get a good job, make money, buy a bigger house, buy a fancier car, you're running around doing all this stuff, and then all of a sudden you drop dead. You might be 80, you might be 40. And you wonder, what was it all for? If there isn't something else more important, something bigger out there, what is all that scurrying around for? And then it seems pointless. There's got to be something else.
Right. I agree. Good point.
You get to a point in life when you realize that. And when you're younger, you're basically that's what you're doing. It's always beat into your head. Go to college, get a job that has insurance and a pension. Get married, get the white picket fence, and have kids, have grandkids, grow your Social Security, and then you're all done.
Why?
It's got to be deeper. It's got to be deeper. And you don't have to be a medium.
No,
Okay.
you don't have to.
You don't have to go out and look for ghosts. You don't have to go out and sit on the mountaintop and meditate for 12 hours a day. You can just be you and let life happen and appreciate life as it happens. So, and I think that's what's
Very well
important.
put.
Yeah.
And that's and we appreciate you talking to us about that, because it's going to go a long ways to help a lot of people and give them an idea of what's going on. So,
And we like to think of ourselves as light workers. That we always say a prayer to the Creator before reading, for the highest and the best, our angels, guides, and loved ones, and we always ask for the highest and the best in our intention. And so
And when we went to get married, because Margaret was Catholic and I was Jewish, a rabbi wouldn't marry us and a priest wouldn't marry us. So we got married by a notary public who happened to be a florist. We think we're married, we're not sure. But you start thinking, well, gee, this one won't marry us because this one won't marry us. Gotta be more to it than
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
I do weddings on the side,
Oh.
and so that's the kind of couples that I get, people
Yeah.
that other people won't marry, which I find incredible. I think if people love each other, they
Right.
should be able to get married.
And we realize that religion, it's pretty much man-made. I mean, they create all kinds of barriers and all kinds of things that you have to do this and you can't do that. And I'm thinking, what is,
I think at the root,
God didn't
at
say
the
that.
very root of most religions is love and forgiveness.
Mhm.
That's
But as
right.
as
Yeah.
people get involved,
They
that's when the
Put
rules
more,
come.
right.
And
we,
so, yeah,
there's,
I agree.
there's nine, what do you call them, spiritualism?
Principles.
9 principles. I can't remember them all, but the one that impressed me was do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I figured, boy, if you do that,
Hmm.
no problems.
Right, exactly.
If you do
I
that.
remember when we took the hand of fellowship in the church in Portland, Maine, our mentor at the time, Graham, said, when you get involved with spirit, your life will change.
Mhm.
He said, your friends will change, your life will change, and I was thinking, oh, I don't know. But boy, did it,
Mhm.
and,
Oh, yeah.
and it's just been, it still is, it's just wonderful. And Lilydale has almost, I would say, like an oversoul here,
Yes.
that people come and go, but the constant is Lilydale, the love and the healing that's here.
Oh, yeah, and you can feel it
Yeah.
as soon as you drive on to the property.
Uh-huh.
You can feel that energy. You can feel peace.
Yes.
It just feels so calm and peaceful. Last year, when we came,
Yeah.
Clay was just blown away by the feeling of peace here.
Yeah.
And just the serenity of the place. And, it's almost like you leave all your worries on the outside of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get here, it's just like whoosh.
And you can talk about
Yeah.
anything here. And
Exactly.
Much
And,
so, yeah.
like our friend, I think you saw Heidi in the bookstore today.
Yes.
She's quite a spirit photographer. And her wife Sharon is a registered medium here.
Mm.
And they're very interesting too. And we would go out to the stump sometimes.
Mhm.
At
At
night.
night, and we would have all kinds of experiences. And have you done that yet? Gone out there?
Oh, yeah. Well, not at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
Well,
out
I've
there
seen
at night.
things
Go out at night.
And
because we're allowed to give messages in public.
Yeah.
We can't do it in our home. We don't charge. We never did charge, but
Mhm.
we've got given messages at the
Stump.
Margaret's a very good medium.
um,
Very
we were
good.
too. But
I'm
you
kind
know,
of
we
retired.
do. What we've done with our mediumship is for 6 years now, we volunteered for Find Me. We take cases. We
Mhm.
work with other people on cases, and
Yeah, find missing people.
And have you found missing people?
We've
had
had
some
some real good
experiences.
hits.
Yeah.
The director is a former FBI agent,
Mm.
and every now and then he'll let us know, oh, you came close, you got something really,
Yeah.
some real good information.
So we do
Oh,
that.
good.
So we use
Yeah.
our mediumship, even though we're not
Of course, that's-
don't have a business or anything.
that's
And that's
cool.
allowed, because
Yeah.
we're
We don't charge
volunteering and
anything
it's
for
through the
that.
internet and everything. We just type up our cases and stuff.
Mhm.
But
Done 145 cases in 6 years.
yeah.
It'll be 6 years in September.
Wow.
So this
Yeah.
man, Kelly Snyder, it's called Find Me. He really believes in mediums and things. So.
Oh, that's
That's
what it's all about.
And they had a course here. I took it a long time ago, maybe 8 years ago, on psychic investigation.
Mhm.
And that was really good. That's what got me interested.
Interesting.
Because I was having, it's funny, when I was teaching and working in Maine, I was having all these unbelievable psychic experiences with missing people,
Mm.
where I would just kind of poof.
We were finding people, and we found that a lot of law enforcement didn't want to hear about it.
Right.
And it was like, oh my, this is happening, but it was, I don't want to experience that. It was like a little too much.
Well, we knew where a girl's body was in the bay, in Casco
Yeah.
Bay in Maine.
But-
Wasn't, she got drunk and fell in the water and froze. And they'd been looking for her for about a month, and the people at our church said, we knew where she was. She was hooked. They said her coat was hooked under the bridge. And they said, don't tell the police, they'll think you had something to do
Yeah,
with it.
then-
They'll want to know how you know.
I think there are some mediums here that do work with the police and
Yeah.
on a private
Well, we knew
basis.
this little girl in Florida, Jessica Lunsford. She was murdered. She was coming to us every night with information, and the next day or two we'd see the information she gave us on TV. We tried to get in touch. They didn't. The police down there didn't want to hear
The
anything
family
about it.
didn't either.
Right.
The family didn't want to hear. We knew where she was. We knew the guy's name who did it, and we knew what he looked like. And they were looking for miles. We said she's right across the street from her house. And that's where she was buried. He buried her alive right across the street.
And, a lot of people say, we kept questioning, why are they showing us?
Yeah,
Why are they
we
doing
seeing
this?
this?
And I feel that a lot of times spirit, to get you where you need to be, they'll just hammer you with something
Right.
so that
couldn't
gets
do
your
it.
attention,
Well, you
like
feel,
this is real.
yeah, you feel bad when you know this information. You can't do anything
Yeah.
about it.
So, I
I'm
think
feeling like there's almost tunnels in the spirit world, and people on the other side can tell who can hear them and see them and feel them.
Yes.
Yeah.
That they,
That
there's
sounds
something about our aura or our energy field that people
Yeah.
in the spirit world know, oh, that
Yes.
person can hear me,
Yeah.
that person can see
See
me,
me.
I can
Right.
get a message to them.
Yes.
Now, whether you can communicate it effectively and somebody will believe you is another whole nother
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
But they need to
Exactly.
get the information to someone,
Yeah,
and probably
yeah.
that's why they came to you. They saw that
Yeah.
you were able to hear them and see them.
So that's how we got started. We wanted to do something with that. When we retired, that's why we joined the Volunteer Find Me. But, so that's,
I think what you said probably is the best way to close out our talk. When you said when spirit comes in your life will change.
yes,
I think if we leave people with that thought,
yes,
that's probably the strongest message we get across, along
Yeah.
with love.
yeah.
So we thank you for talking with
Well,
us.
thank you.
Thank you for
And,
coming.